It's preparing to live stream.
And we're live.
Well, good morning, everybody. First, I want to apologize to the resident council that's assembled today. Our original plan was to have the entire resident council present at today's town hall meeting. However, due to current guidance from the Williamson County and City's Health District, to avoid gatherings of 5 or more, we've modified our attendance. So to that end, joining me in this room are representatives from each of our different independent living programs. So we have a representative from our cottages, one from Independent Living West, and one from Independent Living East. And then to round out that number, myself and Michelle Monk are in the room and probably a little bit more than 6 to 12 feet distance. But limited though this number is, I will tell you, makes me very happy to be in person with at least some of you. And look forward to the opportunity to have that again in the future. And now, if I could, I'd like to call on the Reverend Dr. Eric McKinney to open us in prayer.
Let us pray. O Holy One, we thank you for the beauty of this day and the opportunity to live as your children. We thank you too for this place of residence that is home to some of the world's best people and your beloved children, everyone. We ask that as we spend this time, your Spirit might fill our hearts. Open our minds, our hearts, our spirits to your presence, and keep us attuned to how we might best serve we live among. We ask this in the holy name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Eric, thank you. I would like to say welcome back, but while Eric has been a pastor to the Wesleyan and a board member and a family member in times past, he really has never truly left the Wesleyan and has remained a dedicated servant to this ministry. So Eric, we're all thankful to have you here and thank you for starting this meeting off in the right way. Thank
you, Mark. It's good to be here.
Thank you. I'm going to share with you that preparation for this town hall meeting has not been easy. Not that there isn't enough material for us to talk about in the maximum amount of time and probably much longer. But when our time together is precious like this, I wanted to make sure that we had the opportunity to talk about those topics that were the most important to this community, especially right now. So we're just going to jump right into that with two things that maybe are right in front of us at this time. The first is the election. I'm certain that we have residents, teammates, and family members that represent both the major parties, as well as some perhaps that identify with neither. And while we do have a projected winner, it may be some time before all the issues and things in this nation are resolved. Regardless, we are all Americans, and we are all in this together in this community of faith. So I want you to just to continue to do what you're doing. Please continue to show love and respect for one another. The Wesleyan is a tapestry made more beautiful by the complexity and the diversity of the individuals that comprise it. And that's all that flavor and that richness comes from all of you and how you relate to one another. We will come through this like we come through other situations, but we also know it's a time of some anxiousness. The second, and a topic that is not so easily summarized, is COVID-19. I was thinking about this a lot. We think about and talk about COVID-19 quite a bit. So anyway, I was reminded of a quote from Mary Poppins, believe it or not, and it goes like this. Mr. Banks, who was the father of the household, while talking with Mary Poppins says, "Would you be good enough to explain all of this?" To which Mary Poppins simply replies, "First of all, I would like to make it absolutely clear, I do not explain anything." That is a little bit about how most of our phone calls and conferences go when we talk with the various agencies that we engage with every day. There are various opinions about the coronavirus. Who caused it? How did it spread to the United States? Is it as severe as reports say? Is it decreasing in occurrence or increasing? And thousands of other questions. I don't have the answer to all of those questions. As of yesterday at 1 p.m., we're nearly 11.3 million cases in the United States. And over 1 million of those cases are here in Texas. More staggering is that Texas is experiencing nearly 10 to 12,000 new cases a day. Last week, we hit our highest at 11,764 cases in one day. I think aside from those statistics, and perhaps more germane to us, is that the team at the Wesleyan are involved in the local, state, and federal level for guidance and direction each and every day. Policy and procedure can and has changed every 24 hours and at times multiple times throughout one single day. But our efforts have not been just for compliance. They have been with the ultimate goal in mind to keep our entire community at all levels safe. Without a doubt, it has required sacrifices on behalf of everyone. Sacrifices that, if given the option, we didn't want to make. And yet we have been mostly successful. Now, external agencies have called us extremely successful. Some have even called us lucky. I certainly would include the word blessed. But I want to underscore that it has been the ongoing efforts of our staff to not only stay up to date on what has taken place, but also their quick implementation with all of the many guidelines and orders that we continually receive. And we could not have been successful as we have been without your cooperation and support. Your mask use, being aware of any symptoms, reducing the size of gatherings, and your accommodation of our organization in having to curtail many of the large gatherings that traditionally take place throughout this campus. Difficult though this has been, you can see from the constantly updated website, and I want to say thank you to Georgianne Hewitt, who has really kept that up to date for us. We have had far, far fewer occurrences in either our resident or teammate population than any other community similar to ours in our area and beyond. It continues to amaze us how other communities allow for little to no restrictions, which has resulted in increased community spreads in an at-risk population and the lack of transparency in reporting. We are at a time when some researchers have conjectured about a second wave of coronavirus. And what does that mean? Well, we're not exactly sure. I'm not sure anybody knows exactly for sure. What we do know is that even though there are a number of different thoughts on a second wave or a surge and how that might express itself, there is one commonality, that human behavior plays a major part. We will continue to communicate what we are doing, make ourselves available for questions, and as we have from the very beginning, remain committed to the health and safety of our entire community in collaboration with you, our teammates, and our family members. We have been in continual contact with our board leadership throughout this entire pandemic. Their generosity of time and support has been incredible. Our board and committee meetings have not ceased due to the pandemic and have continued, like many of your communications have continued, through either video or phone conferences. I am not trying to take it personally. We get far greater attendance at the board meetings now that they're virtual than they did in person. So not sure what that's about, but we'll take it. One of the issues that we discussed with them was our strategic plan. And I know something that's important to you all, and I want to share with you that update. But you have to look at our strategic plan really as two parts. One is the part that we're in right now. We could call it phase one, and that is the pre-financing, pre-construction phase, which is all the design and the conceptual processes involved with all of our consultants. So the first part is now in the process of being completed. That is to say, by the end of this year, actually a little bit sooner, mid-December, we will have the final design documents, construction documents. We will have all of the permits put in front of the city for processing. We will have the landscape design, the interiors designs, and most importantly, we have the guaranteed maximum price from the general contractor, also known as the GMP. The design of the project has been everything that we expected from the quality consultants that we've engaged. All that being said, our leadership team, all of us, have been involved in monitoring this plan and the current state of our health environment and the impact that it has on this project. The fact is, the quality of the design is really not the only factor to consider. We have to look at the price. We have to look at the financial environment. We have to look at the availability of consistent and reliable and quality construction labor and trades, and looking at the exponential increase in material costs, and equally the increase in cost exponentially in bringing trade skill services to the project. With all of this in mind, we, the senior leadership of the organization, made the recommendation to the Board of Trustees that we will table the expansion for the time being. We all agree that they will be wonderful additions to the campus, but the timing and the risk is not in the best interest of the Wesleyan right now. That does not mean we're not going to continue to be strategic. This does give us time to focus on us, an inward strategic focus that continues with the theme of One Wesleyan. We are going to be focusing on resident and teammate culture, the updating of the independent living west side, inclusive of handrails, working on the walking paths and the grounds of the campus to include lighting, better signage, and increased parking. These are all items that were a part of the continuing strategic plan, but we're going to use this time to advance some of these smaller but very important projects. Many of you have commented on what it means that makes the Wesleyan stand out in the people of this community. It's the residents and the teammates alike. And we want to delve deeper into that culture. What are we doing well? And what can we improve upon? How can we continue in new ways, even in light of the times that we are now living? These focus areas are customer service and total wellness, and other areas that contribute to our ministry of promoting abundant life. IL West is the cornerstone of this campus. I remember coming out here when it was the property and they were building Independent Living West, at the time just Independent Living. And while we continue to have requests for those units, now is the time to take a look at what we can do to freshen its appearance and position that building for the next decade. Many of you, if you've had a chance, you've seen that we actually have new doors, sliding doors over there, which are far safer, far more user-friendly, and we're very excited to have that one piece already taken care of. The Wesleyan grounds is something that we can all enjoy, residents across this entire campus. We're working on the paths, looking at increased lighting, which is absolutely essential, not only for recognition, but for safety. Better signage and wayfinding. I'll be honest with you, the first few weeks I was here, throwing breadcrumbs was the best approach I had to getting around this campus. It's large and we've grown even more. But I think in the intent to try to address this, we have 3 or 4 or 5 or 9 different types of signs and different colors and different fonts, and the connectivity, while it was thoughtful, was not uniform. And it just makes it very difficult to see where to go and how to progress and where you are. And so we want to correct those issues. We want people to live beyond their apartments and their cottages. We have identified areas for temporary parking, but we want to make those areas permanent and connect them with trails and sidewalks and markings so that people are safe to go throughout the entire campus, which is now 55 acres. Bringing these connective items to our community is essential in bringing us all together. Now, the investment in ourselves is important for all of us who live and work here today, but it's also for those who come after us. Part of what we need to be doing in this strategic plan is recognizing what we can do and what we cannot do. As I mentioned before, you've all sacrificed some ways, things that you wanted to experience from the Wesleyan. And if wishing made it so, I would wish that we would not have had to experience this incursion on our lives. However, we can instead live with it, live through it, and think beyond it. We know that these turbulent times have had a personal effect on all of you. And therefore, our leadership team has proposed and approved to the board of directors that there will be no rate increases for 2021. Being an organization of benevolence means being benevolent to all of those who are a part of this community. Please know that it does not end there. Time and again, I hear from our residents about the well-being of our teammates, so I want to share some other news with you. Our leadership team has not only been able to negotiate better health benefits with richer rewards in those programs for our teammates, we have proposed and approved that the premium increases will be absorbed by the Wesleyan and there will be no increase in cost of premiums to any of our teammates throughout 2021. We have also added pre-tax dependent care accounts to assist our teammate parents in providing care for their children while simultaneously reducing the amount of their taxable income. And lastly, teammate increases and bonuses are budgeted for and will continue now and until and through 2021. This is not something that many similar communities like ours have been able to continue or even approach. God is good all the time. The cost of COVID-19 has been and continues to be incredibly high, but no more so, and perhaps at times even more so, when it comes to the work and the stress and engagement that has been required of our teammates. As we look at 2021, and frankly, as I look at tomorrow, I do have hope. That hope is founded in the incredible spirit of this community of residents, teammates that I'm very fortunate to serve, the support of a very, very engaged Board of Trustees, the generosity of our donors, this incredible town of Georgetown, all of which continue to see and value the incredible breadth of this ministry. Now, again, I want to say I'm thankful that we have resident representatives here, both present with us and then also by Zoom. And I want to thank all of you for attending. So at this time, I am going to open it up to questions that I can answer for you all. We do have a microphone for those that are in the room or anybody that is on Zoom.
Just remember to unmute.
And we will have a microphone, but I'll repeat questions as necessary. All right, so Pat Helms, go ahead.
Okay. We would like for you to once again explain your role as CEO and Bethany's role as COO. Too many folks still have questions. That should go to Bethany. That go to you, that should go to Bethany.
All right, Georgianne, was that heard clearly? Now,
Yes.
let me repeat that question. The question was, we would like for you to once again explain your role as CEO and Bethany's role, Bethany Cisneros, as the COO, Chief Operating Officer. There are too many folks still trying to ask you questions that maybe should go to Bethany. I get that right? The first thing I would say is that both Bethany's and my jobs start and end with serving others, residents and teammates. Now, there are particular items, and I'm gonna start with some detail, then just kind of talk a little bit in the general. Bethany's role as the COO is to monitor and ensure measured outcomes from all of our different programs for increased quality of care, organizational performance, and compliance with all of our regulatory and legal guidances that are enforced throughout our organization. She develops and oversees the implementation of strategies to help grow our organization's business, inclusive of customer service and our value position, as well as the financial integrity of this organization. And she oftentimes creates, in partnership with her team, the strategies and processes that enhance these services and improve quality. And probably kind of the overarching thread is creating teamwork. Even though there's a number of different programs in the ministry, it's really about connecting them all. When the Wesleyan serves somebody at WSN, the Wesleyan Skilled Nursing and Rehabilitation, oftentimes they're connected with somebody at independent living or assisted living, or they came out of the home health program, and it's to create that continuity of care throughout. I will also share with you that she serves as with everybody, there should always be a succession plan, and she serves as the successor to the president and CEO position. It is important for any leadership team at all levels to have a plan that backs up. We are an organization and ministry that serves 365, sometimes 366, 7 days a week, all the time. And so that people can go on vacation or spend time with family or have a health issue or whatever the case is, we have to have some redundancy in place to make sure that things can continue. And that includes, that's really at all levels of the organization. Now, for me, I spend the majority of my time relating to board governance. Believe it or not, the organization actually represents 3 different organizations. I'm the president of the Wesleyan, which is our operations, also the Wesleyan Foundation, Wesleyan Homes Foundation, and also Wesleyan Homes Properties. So I get to wear a number of different hats and make sure that all of those organizational structures relate to one another. I deal with all legal and policy issues, community networking and relations. For instance, I serve on the Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors. I serve, I'm a board officer with our state association for long-term and healthcare services. And overall, I establish the vision and goals for our organization and communicate those in strategy to our Board of Trustees and reflect the mission, vision, and values of the organization through the Board of Trustees out into kind of an operational expression. Now, probably in simplest terms, I have a little bit more of a global oversight, whereas Bethany's really more involved in the day-to-day. That's probably the easiest way to, and I'm going to share with you, that's hard for me. I've been a nursing home administrator by trade for, oh my gosh, a long time, 26, no, 20, this is coming in my 27th year. It's hard to not be involved in the day-to-day. It's hard not to be involved with each of you every day. But I also have to understand we each have bandwidth. And I believe, as I've grown in my career, is the strength and the successes that we have are due in part to our collaboration and teamwork with others and bringing many people. And you've seen our team, Georgianne and Jenna and Bethany and Kelly and Kevin and all the different people in our senior leadership team. I am stronger. This organization is stronger because of the skill sets and the gifts that those people bring to this team, and they all carry different things. But there is overlap, and that's a good thing, so that people can step away and re-energize their battery and come back in. So she does deal with more day-to-day operations, and she's involved in taking that overall vision and planting that within our administrators, who then work even deeper level in working with their department heads and the execution on those policies and procedures in the day-to-day. So I hope that answers that. That's kind of very wide sweeping. I did see that Leonard has, are there any follow-up questions to that? All right, Leonard.
Yes, Mark, what I was curious about, I know we've signed up on sign-up sheet for various activities now and even exercise and all that, but as I understand now, if we're in code 5 or
Orange,
yes, that those numbers should be limited to no more than 5. So are we canceling all those activities or revising?
right. Well, so there's never one answer. And the reason why there's never one answer is because we operate at a number of different levels. And some of it gets a little confusing. We're orange. There's 4 colors in Williamson County. There's only 3 colors at the federal level. It's a stoplight. And so we went to yellow. So we will have different levels of restrictions throughout. But yes, right now the recommendation from Williamson County City's Health District is that there be no gatherings of 5 or more, more than 5. And so, like in this situation, 3 of you are here, I'm here, and Michelle's here, and that meets that number. And it really, that is taking into consideration mask use and distancing. So you can't increase that number. Now, I say that, and it could be changing right now as we speak. In fact, when we met the week before last, Thursday, I was talking with our compliance officer, Kelly Getz, and said, well, I'm going to tell you right now with where things are going, it's likely going to get orange, I'm thinking, by the first part of next week. And it was by Friday. Now, that being said, I have a daughter who's at Georgetown High School, and they had homecoming game and homecoming, pep rally, and there are various things that are going on. I can't respond to that. I can choose for our child to participate as they need to, but we have to follow those guidelines because that's what protects us best. So yes, we will be adhering to that guidance. We think that's best practice. We need to think of some different innovative ways. I know some people have attended classes by Zoom or GoToMeeting. When we've done like chair aerobics or whatever, some people will Zoom in and others are present. Michelle, Lisa, and others will help coordinate that. What we want to make sure that while we are adhering to those guidelines creates the opportunity for innovation. It's not to discourage participation. Energy, activity, even if it's remote, needs to continue for our health. We just can't do it all in the same area. And those are guidelines we're going to adhere to. Of course, screening and everything else will continue through that process as well. So what I would just say is I believe we have bulletin boards and we have announcements going out from EVA. We do updates to our website, which I think we can put out again through the chat or perhaps in our comments, and make sure that people are updated about what's taking place. But yes, we will be adhering to the Williamson County Health District guidelines. The only thing that would supersede that is a more stringent guideline from an executive health order from the governor. Absolutely. I think we also have a question from Mary Stevens.
We are very aware that assisted living is growing. And many times they have to say, when we get an opening. So the question is there any plan that could be quickly attended to give more space for these people?
Sure. So the question has to do with expanding on the our offerings for assisted living services. And absolutely, Mary, you are correct. Actually, we're 100% full in assisted living right now. We're very thankful to that team, Donna Holm, our administrator, and her team over there in doing what they do. So part of our construction and strategic plan, the second phase of it was actually to expand. There is a plan to add an additional 64 units of assisted living. The Wesleyan feels there is a greater need for a greater footprint for memory care and assisted living as well, something that's important to us all, also at the skilled level. Construction, however, in town is not going to be quick. The answer to that is yes, we have plans, we have construction documents to move that forward. That is a licensing issue. So, it's often easier to add, it's easier to add on to a building than to start something new. So we are looking down that path. I can't tell you exactly when that's going to start. A lot of that, if I may scoot back for 1 second, one of the reasons why we can press the pause, and I want to say it's a pause, it's not a stop entirely, it's a pause, is the construction plans, even when we get the construction documents to the city and the permits we receive, they actually have a kind of about a 2-year hibernation period. They may actually extend some of them a little bit given the kind of the unusual circumstances we're under. We are not saying that we're waiting 2 years. We're just waiting for kind of the confluence of events to be more favorable for us. Because again, we still feel like it's the important thing to do. I think what will be important is paying attention at the time. Does it reprioritize the projects that we do? So for instance, while for a while, independent living or the Welcome Center might be going first, it may be that assisted living services are actually needed quicker than those others. And we want to do the right thing in the right process at the right time, and knowing that we have to have a bandwidth. We can't do everything at once. A question was asked of me by one of our residents in watching some of the financial markets was the community at large is ripe for acquisition as well. And, one of the benefits of being a ministry of nearly 60 years, we see competition come in and they come in and they're fresh and new. And all of a sudden, then you start seeing them giving deals and 3 months of service and so on and so forth. But then you're also seeing numbers of COVID-19 because there's no restrictions and other things like that taking place. We continue to see our competition sitting in upper 60, low 70th percentile census. So the only way to do it quicker for us would maybe to be acquire some competition that we could convert. Those are all the things we look at, that we're not committing to that action. But even if you don't hear about them taking place, part of my responsibility with the Board of Trustees, and we had this conversation with our Planning and Development Committee, which is our strategic planning committee, is to talk about all the things that serve us well in this community. And so that could be a part of it. So it is on our strategic plan. It is a priority item for us. That, of course, that expansion requires construction labor and materials. I will tell you, Delise shared with me, I'm going to get the numbers wrong, but she said back in March, 2x4s were $2.58 a piece. And now I think they're like $7.84 a piece. When there's construction, there's a lot of 2x4s. And that's not just the manufacturing. Then you have to look at the people that are producing it. Then you talk about sheetrock and then trying to get trades for plumbing. And understand that it's also not just COVID-19. This country has also seen some natural disasters and places that are requiring rebuilding. And we believe in the growth of this ministry. We also have to make sure we're paying attention that right now resources might be best used to put people's lives back on track in other areas. So we need to manage that out and understand kind of ebb and flow. So we're paying attention to it all, but absolutely feel like assisted living is absolutely essential. And we'll continue to keep you updated. We will be able to show you the plans sooner than we will be able to tell you when it will be starting. But those plans for that expansion will be filed with the city to kind of start that clock for construction. Absolutely.
there's more.
You have more. Go ahead. If it's okay, we've gone past time, but if you're okay to go a little bit more, maybe we'll take one or two more questions and then we'll come to a close.
I have two more.
Oh, sure. Well, it works out well.
One of them, if you could help clarify, we like, all of us like to give to the Christmas fund for employees, but people don't understand who gets it.
Sure. So the question is, many of us, residents and others, like to give to the Teammate Christmas Fund, but who gets it? If I can, let me talk about history. There was a time before I got here that when money was raised, the money that was raised in that particular building went to those particular teammates, and that's it. Again, we are one community and we help out. Maintenance helps out in different buildings, and groundskeeping and IT support. There are a lot of behind the scenes working around in different buildings throughout the organization. But as you can imagine, we do a significant amount of benevolent support. So some of our buildings, highly steeped in benevolent and charitable support, although it may be larger, may not generate as many gifts, but have a larger teammate population. And another building might generate significantly more giving, but have a smaller number. So what we found over the years was there was an inequity, that a person working with maybe 100 other people, for 100 or so people might get $20 or whatever the case is, and others were getting hundreds of dollars. So as an organization, what we decided to do was we eliminated senior leadership, management, and supervisors from that, salaried level people, because we really felt like those dollars needed to go to the people that are working there with the residents, out on the grounds, doing the beat, doing the tough stuff. And oftentimes the people that you don't see, the dishwashers and the people taking out the trash and pulling the weeds and putting this will tell you my engineering, the grease and the whatever goes into the gears and the engineer generators and stuff like that. I didn't do well on that, Leonard, sorry. Excuse me. And so what we started was that we would pull all of those dollars together, and teammates across the entire organization would receive those dollars equitably. Now, there are different levels. So for instance, full-time and part-time and even PRN as needed staff do receive teammate gifts. Full-time teammates get more than part-time, and part-time get more than the as needed staff. And that makes sense because people have made a commitment to that. And then of course, tenure. As people are here with tenure, the longer they're here, there's some more money that goes to them. So it's important that they receive that. Now, I know that a question that I received when we started this a couple of years ago was, well, there were some people that were receiving gifts. I do want you to know, we budget for a holiday end of the year gift for all of our teammates. So our frontline staff, in addition to that teammate, they will get something from us as well. And those that are no longer a part of that, they also receive a gift from us. So nobody is left out, but we just feel like this expression, this wonderful expression of joy and appreciation, because many of you are frustrated. I hear all the time, oh, this person did something for me. I want to give them a book or a goo gag, whatever it is, or some money. We can't do that. But this is a way for you to express that appreciation, and we do appreciate it. It is a wonderful sense of giving. We just want to make sure that everybody is able to be a part of that expression. Does that make sense, or any questions about that? Anybody on, Leonard, yes.
One follow-up on that. I know that those gifts have been acknowledged, but there's been no acknowledgement of scholarship.
So the question is, there's an acknowledgement of the teammate giving, but there's no acknowledgement of the scholarship. You mean our tuition reimbursement program? Yeah. Georgianne, I do know, do you want to address that, the tuition reimbursement scholarship program? The question is, how is that recognized?
So all gifts, when they come in, if someone gives to any fund, they get an acknowledgement letter. And then we've done like profiles on that. Last year was our first year. It was our pilot year for the tuition reimbursement. And we did some profiles on the first teammates who were selected for that. So I'm not sure which acknowledgement. We do solicit for that, but not every time. So this time of year, we're soliciting for the Teammate Christmas Fund. And then you'll probably see additional solicitations at other times of the year for obviously benevolence, since we raise funds for that all year long, as well as Teammate Christmas. And sometimes people give gifts to other causes as well. Hospice, oftentimes we get memory gifts, honor gifts, either for hospice or a particular program that someone, it has meant a lot in their life.
Leonard, does that answer your question?
No, really, you sent out earlier a form that had several things you could break down
Yeah.
your deal on. That was broken down, and that's the area I was talking about.
So so he's referencing how the gifts are designated.
Yeah, so in October or September, we did a solicitation that had each of the funds, and you could select each of them if you wanted to do more than one. And we typically will do that at the beginning of the year as well, and offer people the option of either making a one-time gift, or a really easy way to do it is to do a monthly contribution. A lot of people like to do that for Teammate Christmas Fund, so that they can break it down into 12 installments.
Leonard feels like you did a good job answering that, Georgianne. Thank you. You got 2 thumbs up.
All right, thank you.
Mary had another question.
Yeah, my final one. I'm gonna read it from here to make sure I get it right. Before I read it though, Wesleyan is very focused on family and doing for family. And with that in mind, what happened to the plan for boxed meals for the evening on Thanksgiving and Christmas? The kitchen staff and the wait staff, and that's just an example of this,
Sure.
have been given the opportunity in the past to go home about 2 o'clock after the main meal is served. As hard as they work every day, we residents leave a few hours off for the holidays. Well done.
Well, I'm gonna let Eva address some of this with you. Again, I'm sorry, the question. I thank you, Georgianne, this goes back to a question. What happened to the plan for the boxed meals for the evening on Thanksgiving and Christmas? The kitchen staff and the wait staff, as an example, have been given the opportunity to go home about 2 p.m. after the main meal is served. As hard as they and others work every day, we residents believe a few hours off during the holiday is well deserved and well earned. I'm going to have Eva talk about the specifics of it. Again, we're an organization that works 24/7. And our residents choose to live here, and those services continue. Our organization plans well in advance, months in advance, with people asking off for time. People who might be celebrating afterwards. A great example, I know Bethany Cisneros, our Chief Operating Officer. She works on Thanksgiving. She loves to work on Thanksgiving because she likes to see the residents that are there and what's taking place, and be that administrative support. So there's a licensed individual and someone who has some decision-making and guiding opportunity. Does it take away her from being with her family at time? It does. But she plans with her family. This is her calling. And she's making plans accordingly. Other of our teammates do the same. We need to make sure, whether it's 3 hours early, 2 hours early, 1 hour early, whatever it might be, that the services are met. And so what I would say is those things are planned for. Sometimes people are able to come in later and leave a little bit earlier. Sometimes they get a preferred shift because they're working the holiday. There are other programs and incentives that we work through. So I will say, because of the nature of being a 24/7 operation, not everybody is going to have the same circumstance, but everybody is considered in how we manage that. Some might not be in there in the afternoon, but a number of staff will be. And we do feel like it's important for that to continue. And especially right now, you know, as we're having far more limited visitors, but to make sure that we have people in attendance and caring for the organization. That's hard. Again, I will tell you, I've worked Christmas and Thanksgiving. Many of our teammates have done those in different holidays. It's part of what we do to be a part of this family. And being here isn't a sacrifice, it's an opportunity. But we make sure that we consider that time spent here and that we flex or we change out times to make it comfortable or an opportunity for some flexibility in their schedule. Eva, do you want to talk about how meals are going to work?
Yes, sir. I was going to say,
if you're not with anyone else, would you mind taking off your mask? If nobody, but if
so
someone's in the
sorry.
area, leave it on. Okay.
I was in a common space area and I always try to keep it on just because I'm in the building. But yes, sir. We actually plan on having the same meal service that we have every other day on those specific holidays as well. So we're super excited about that, to be able to provide a meal that everyone will be able to enjoy. And I can promise you this, as a teammate that's worked with Wesleyan for 25 years, I've missed some holidays with my close family, but I can also tell you that the moments that I've had at the buildings with the rest of my family have meant so much to me. And I know that the teammates also feel that way. So although we may have to work or get to work, because it is a privilege, during those holidays, we definitely try to do what we can to ensure that the teammates can enjoy time with their loved ones as well.
There was a lot of wonderful comments in that. I think we heard every few words a little bit because we had some disconnection. But I heard that we were having a seated meal service. Eva, who has worked here since birth, has spent many holidays with our organization and values that as much as she values being with her family, and has that expression for our teammates as well. But we will have a seated meal service. We have seen the menus. Morrison has done a great job in coming up with some very creative menus for the holidays that we're very excited about. They're excited about. I hope I kind of encapsulated all of that, Eva. Like I said, you were going a little bit in and out. But if that answers your question, I know that's not what everyone wants to hear. They want to know that they're going home at 2 o'clock, and that's the case. Those are older practices, and we need to make sure that we're continuing in the work that we do every day, and that we just can't honor that for everybody. I said, I know you were going to do 2 more questions, and Pat, you had done this. Did you have another question?
Well, I was wondering, I know that we have a lot of people on the benevolent fund. Can you tell us how many people we provide for the benevolent fund?
Right. So that is a very complex answer. So the question is, knowing that we cannot know names or the specifics, can we learn how many residents are being helped through the benevolent funds? And I want to explain something that the giving to the benevolent fund cares for people in a benevolent support, caregiving support in programs that don't have subsidy, like Medicaid, but it also helps us with the unsubsidized portion of our charitable support throughout Wesleyan skilled nursing. So when you look at that, it's a couple of million, $2.6+ million a year in support of charitable assistance, as well as unsubsidized care through Medicaid, prior at Scenic and now also at Wesleyan skilled nursing. Most of what you all hear in either independent living or assisted living is about the benevolent funds that help people stay in place here. And those are dealt with a little bit differently. That number is oh gosh, near and about, I have the exact number, about 176, almost $200,000 in support in those areas. The reason why those numbers are different is because there is no Medicaid or subsidized support in independent living or assisted living, but we do have it over in WSN. So the combination of that, we've been as high as around 3 million total in support, but it broken out into the non-subsidized portion, it's a couple $100,000. And overall, the number of people we serve, nearly 100 people throughout our organization, keeping in mind, we serve, that's about 1/6, not quite 1/5 of our population of all people served. And benevolent support isn't only in independent living and assisted living and skilled nursing, but it also goes into home health and home and community-based services for people who are at end of life times, for people who need some support in the interim who would otherwise not be able to cover the full extent of their care and services. It's managed a little bit differently. So we have different criteria at different levels, but it's a very, very, not only is it throughout our organization, but highly valued, highly dependent upon in the care and the ministry that we continue with all people. And mostly the outcome, not only in making sure that people are cared for, but is that you don't know, and I'm thankful the fact that you don't know who receives support. That the care and services of those could be your neighbor, could be all of your neighbors over at Wesleyan Skilled Nursing, that whether you're Medicare or private pay or Medicaid, that the care, the service, and the quality is the same and should be. There should be no differential between whether people can pay or can't. The quality and the outcomes and the service of individuals is what the priority issue is. So it's a lot of people. I certainly think that that's a good number. If you want to have those broken down, and Mary, what I would say to the resident council, if we want to kind of keep up with what that looks like on a quarterly basis, we're happy to do that. We're very proud of that, the continuing tradition of that. And that will continue to be one of the things that sets us apart is an organization that continues to support people through ministry, regardless of where they are through the continuum of care. Any other questions or comments on that? Well, we've gone over, but you knew I was talking, and that doesn't surprise anybody. But I will say that, but not as long as I normally do. We started a few minutes late, so I'm going to say that was about 45 minutes. I want to thank those of you who took the time to come out today to talk to us, taking the time to write questions. Those of you who joined us by Zoom, thank you for being here, for asking questions, for submitting questions to Mary. Leonard said it earlier that a lot of these things come down to communication. I think in a lot of ways we've done better, but there's a lot of ways we can continue to improve. We hear that when we hear, hey, we didn't get this announcement. That's going to help us. Keeping up the website, which is updated. I think Georgianne's only updating it about 12 to 14 times a day. And that might be dialed back a little bit. It comes from all of our teammates talking about what's going on. We meet with our teammates, even when we're in a Zoom situation, we meet daily about what's going on throughout the organization. It's not about just firing off an email, it's picking up the phone and making sure we realize what's going on. So we want to make sure that we're continuing in that communication. Understand, one person said, stop communicating. You're sending too many updates and too many letters and too many emails. That was at a time when policy was changing a lot. You know, it's kind of like when we had restrictions. We had those who said, hey, you're being too restrictive. And other people said, hey, you're not being enough restrictive. You know, we're trying to be that porridge that kind of right there in the middle that everybody can take in. But that's difficult because, again, a diverse population that we serve, when we want to try to meet everybody's needs as best we can. So we're going to continue to communicate as we can, to continue to keep updates. And just ask you to continue to keep us in your thoughts and prayers about this time of continued change. Ask you to keep each other in prayer and their families. Not just because of the virus, but because of the strenuous situation we're dealing with the holiday times and making decisions about gathering. The divisive nature that our world finds itself in right now. Regardless of how we feel about certain things, what we can do is we can come together as a community, even if that's remotely, to be supportive of one another and to understand, not necessarily agree, but understand other people's perspective and have good and solid and respectful communication. Please consider and pray for our teammates working many hours. As I hear up north about not enough staff and hospitals without enough beds, we are and continue to be blessed by the people that we work with who are here, who don't get to work remotely, who continuing to be engaged in this ministry every day. So I want to thank you all. Thank you for this time. I'm going to call this town hall to an end. I appreciate seeing many of your faces and look forward to talking to you again. Thank you very much.